All Hit Radio.
Welcome to the X Zone, a place where fact is fiction and fiction is reality. Now, here's your host, Rob McConnell.
Ivan was an old bear tracker. Tom was a man with dreams. And Ernie came along and I wrote the songs about a creature that few's ever seen. Monsters, myths, and mysteries, legend, tales, and facts. It brought us all together, and it's a reason for that.
And welcome back to the X Zone. This is hour 2 of tonight's show, and I must tell you that this is going to be a very interesting hour on a number of levels of, I don't know what to call it. We'll just let it go where it goes. But it's got something to do with the Murphys interview that we did. You remember that one? These people in Mena, Arkansas own they own a crystal mine that has become a hotspot for UFO activity, interdimensional travel, Native American Indian rites and rituals, levitating rocks, and much more. At the end of the interview, I was shaking my head and saying, "Oh, you've got to be kidding," because it didn't make sense. We went online afterwards, and we found an article done by a young lady by the name of Sharon Hill, which made a lot of sense. So we decided to ask Sharon to come on. Sharon is an American science writer who has researched reports of strange natural phenomena for over 30 years. For the past 15 years, she has studied the interaction between science and the public, specifically how science is used in paranormal investigations. She has a degree in Geosciences from Penn State University and an education master's degree from the state of New York at Buffalo. She has written for the Fortean Times and the Skeptical Inquirer, among others, and in 2017 published her book, Scientifical Americans, The Culture of Amateur Paranormal Researchers. She currently writes about spooky geology, the intersection between fringe and the paranormal beliefs and earth sciences. Joining me now from Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, is Sharon Hill. And Sharon, welcome to the X Zone.
Thank you very much for having me.
I must say that by the time I finished talking to the Murphys about their little cash cow that they've decided that they had, that it was very apparent to me that they had very little, if any, experience about what the paranormal was. However, it seemed that they were led very easily into realizing that, hey, we've got something here. When it came to me asking about the scientific research that was being done, Orville told me that he was the researcher, the scientist. When I asked him what his qualifications were, where he received his education and what degrees he had, he has none, but he knows how to use scientific equipment, having worked with FEMA. MUFON was called in. MUFON did an investigation. MUFON got excited. I think if the people at MUFON saw a flying silver plate in the sky, they'd get excited. But who am I to judge, right? Your article was very, very well done. I loved it.
Thanks.
And I had to get you on the show to get your point of view and share it with our listeners. So, when did you first become involved with the Murphys at their property? What's it called again?
The board camp.
Yeah.
Crystal mine. Yep.
Right. Board camp crystal mine, and they also run a business out of that called Homeland America, which is, I believe, is a different survivalist course that people can take for $1,500 a week. So, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to go off track there.
It was right at the beginning. They said in their interview that their first experience happened in, I believe it was February of 2017.
Mm-hmm.
Shortly after that, the Mina local newspaper did publish an article about them. And it was a promotional article, sort of, it felt like a promotional article telling their story about what had happened at their location. And at that time, I was writing a lot about weird news. So I was looking for these types of stories, and I saw this, and it was right up my alley. I mean, as a geologist, I was familiar with mining and the crystal formations that exist there in Arkansas. And so it immediately struck me as interesting. So I started to look up more about it, and I contacted the Arkansas Geological Survey, and I found out more about the local and regional geology. When I started writing about it, Mrs. Murphy was very forthcoming. She would comment on my writing. She emailed me. She started telling me about all the claims. She invited me to visit. I did not go to Arkansas. It's a pretty long way for me to travel.
Yes.
But then, they got the attention from MUFON and then eventually from the Travel Channel. And I'm really shocked that, here we are 5 years later and it hasn't gone away, because I think much of these ideas do resonate with a certain number of people. But I was, I wrote about it on my I had a site that was called Spooky Geology at the time. I've since consolidated my websites, but I still write about that topic. What is happening at the intersection between paranormal and actual geologic science? And there's a lot going on. And this was a perfect example of spooky geology.
Is it possible that this light emanating from the ground was actually caused by geological reasoning or geological events?
I don't think so. There isn't anything that's in the ground that could cause that kind of light emanation. I know that in their interview they talked about crystal energy, and the story evolved quite a bit to the point that there's so much going on there. I mean, it almost became like they're throwing all kinds of strange ideas up in the air and seeing what sticks. Like you said, all of a sudden there were aliens, there were Earthlights. It became interdimensional beings, and it became poltergeist reports would show up. Things would show up in their house. Bring in the native spiritual beliefs. They talked about ley lines. They talked about earth energies. And then there was just so much going on there that you're right. It just didn't make a lot of sense. It was just a whole jumble.
And don't forget Bigfoot.
Bigfoot, yeah. Of course.
I'm saying, holy cow, what's going on?
It did strike me right at the beginning when she said about these beams of light. They did not clearly know if they were going up or coming down.
Yeah.
So, yeah. And there were no other witnesses either.
And apparently those lights haven't been seen since.
Right.
Yeah, very strange. Now we checked with the FCC, the Air Traffic Control, and other government agencies, and they had no reports of UFOs or anything in that area, and they haven't had any reports of anything strange in that area. I asked if there's a military base nearby, and they said no.
Right.
But what also I found confusing was the sign that he said where the lights were coming from were bent and distorted, and one fence or wire was magnetized.
Right.
Now, I've never heard about that with the UFO report over the many years I've been doing this show. And you're right. Cheryl, very nice lady, very convincing.
Right.
Her husband, he was kind of sitting in the background and listening, and I could hear him whispering in her ear during the interview. What else did you find out about this case that brought you to the conclusion that there may have been nothing going on there, scientifically speaking?
Right. I just was not very impressed by any of their claims. It really ramped up when they said they had levitating rocks. And they showed the YouTube videos, which did not show a video. It just, there may have been a video where the rock sort of fell off the pile. But I did have other people who looked at these videos and said, there doesn't seem to be anything in them that's couldn't have been faked or couldn't have been I don't want to say hoax, but it was just manipulated. It could have
Right.
been manipulated easily.
Right, and I believe that these photos were taken by a trail cam, and it looked like they took certain parts of it, cut, edit,
Right.
edit, and then stitched together.
Yeah, and you know what? There's nothing very mysterious about quartz. It's all over this area of Arkansas. It's not unusual for placement at this location. We know why it's there. There's still about 40 different quartz crystal mines in this region. There's nothing happening at any of them. So there's just nothing very special going on here geologically. Geologists had been there. They have mapped the site. It's not anything special. So there was just nothing in there that struck me as being interesting. And it just felt like a lot of empty claims.
Right. When you were doing your investigation into it, was there anything that struck you really strange about the claims that they were making?
What it reminded me of is the Skinwalker Ranch scenario.
Oh, big time.
Yeah, I mean, it was just like everything's going on in this place and all sorts of different things. And isn't this amazing? And scientists should come and look at it. And that was the impression that they gave to me. They're like, well, you're a scientist. You should come and look. You should come and investigate here. We'd be happy to have you. Come and investigate. How do I know that if I went there, they wouldn't do something to make a situation for me? Maybe they'd have somebody in the woods with a flashlight, which is what some of their videos look like.
Exactly.
Just somebody in the woods with a flashlight. How do I know that they weren't going to pull something like that on me? Science means that you have a controlled situation and you want to, figure out what's going on. Well, if you can't control that situation and there's potential for somebody else to be out there trying to, pull faster on you, that's really not a good situation to be in, because you really can't make a good conclusion based on one or two visits. So to me, this felt very odd and uncomfortable, and there was no way I was going to go down there and investigate for anything like that. But like I said, I did contact the Arkansas Geologic Survey, and they said, we found nothing unusual.
No way.
There was nothing to indicate that anybody but the Murphys and maybe some of their guests were experiencing this. Yeah.
Interesting. If there's something like that, activity like that, then I would have thought they would have taken one of the many trail cams that they had and still have around their property and focus it on this one spot. And you and I have to take our break for this first part of the show. Please stand by. X-Zone Nation, my guest this hour is Sharon Hill. And we're talking about geology. We're talking about anomalous natural phenomena, science and society, science education, geology, mining, paranormal beliefs, and much more. And if you'd like to find out more about our guest this hour, visit her website, SharonAHill.com. I'm Rob McConnell. This is the X-Zone. We'll be back on the other side of this break. Whatever you do, don't go away. And you're listening to us here on Classic 1220, streamed on classic1220.ca.
Swamps, what you think I've seen? Something strange, Sasquatch sitting on the cypress knee, and he was talking to Moccasin Joe. Well, the party they gonna have out in the St. John swamps. The Sasquatch doing a brand new dance, and he called it the Bigfoot Stomp.
And welcome back. Sharon A. Hill is my special guest this hour, X-Zone Nation. Her website is SharonAHill.com. Sharon, when to wrap this whole thing up with the Murphys, in your opinion, as a scientist as well as a journalist, was there any scientific reason for the Murphys to have experienced the things that they reported, as well as their guest report happening?
Well, that's a good question. I mean, geologically, no. But psychologically, yes, baby. Sociologically, yes. I think they maybe bought into a lot of interesting ideas.
Yeah.
They mentioned that they were getting stories of legends from the indigenous people,
Mm-hmm.
well, sure, those are going to be really interesting, and you want to believe those. They are
Yes.
compelling. So I think that they wanted to believe that they had a very special place. They maybe wanted to believe that they had a special experience, or they're having multiple special experiences, and that's completely normal. So I think that in that case, there kind of is a scientific explanation for it.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it's, believing is seeing,
Yes,
so to
that's
speak.
true. Yes, that's true. I have another reason why they believe in what they were seeing, and that is because they saw an opportunity to make some money. Because she did mention at the beginning of the interview that, well, people do it on ghost hunts and tours. Why shouldn't we?
Hmm.
So I figured, okay, and then I believe that the price they charge is $40 a person. Yeah, that's not bad.
It's not bad for a nice experience,
Yeah,
I'm sure.
a nice night out.
Right, exactly right. Yep.
Yeah, and the aspect or the sighting of Bigfoot only came after the Native Americans apparently looked at a tree that had a branch that was bent in a special way, and whoever the member was said, "Oh, Bigfoot."
My goodness, there's weird trees and crooked trees and
Mm-hmm.
yeah, all over the place. Yeah.
So
But if you're going to look for that in your environment, you're looking for it, you're going to find it.
exactly, and this is what I tried to say in a very nice way, that maybe these people went on these tours with the preconceived idea of what was happening. She said, "Well, what we do is they have a little lecture before the people go out with the Orville. So they're anticipating something to happen. They're looking for something to
Exactly.
happen. And that's the exact same thing that happens with people who go out to investigate ghosts and hauntings and go on these tours.
Right. Yep.
So I guess consumer beware. What is spooky geology?
So that was my name for the intersection of topics that have to do with geology,
Mm-hmm.
but also are related to paranormal beliefs or mysterious earth phenomenon, anomalies, various weird ideas about rocks of the earth. So it encompasses anything in geology that's related to fear or abnormal, paranormal, supernatural. And it turns out there's tons of topics that are like that.
I have to ask you, as a geologist, is the world flat? Because there are people out there who have started up the Flat Earth Society again.
Yeah, I have some pretty strong beliefs about that. Obviously, the world is definitely not flat, but I think that the reason why people enjoy believing that is probably more social, because they're upset with society. They don't trust the government. They don't trust authority. And they're looking to be in the know about some things, or to feel that they know something that somebody else doesn't. And that's at the root of a lot of conspiracy theories. And I've looked at the social nature of the
Mm-hmm.
Flat Earth Society, and it's a way for people to feel like they belong to something special.
Something special.
Yeah,
Yeah, I guess that could apply to all the other conspiracy theories as well.
it does.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But do we live in such a society that people actually have to believe that these conspiracies are real?
Yeah, it's a little disappointing, because as a scientist, and I've always been interested in nature and science, and it's my personality to be analytical, and it does bother me when people live their life with magical thinking, because it may get you into trouble along the way. And it is sad that people can't experience nature as it really is, and they have to invent things about it or invent fictions about it. And I think that's kind of sad, because I think nature is pretty cool as it is. You don't need to invent anything.
You wrote an article for Skeptical Inquirer over in Buffalo. Amateur paranormal research and investigative groups doing sciencey things.
Yeah.
I call them, armchair quarterback investigators who really don't know what the hell they're doing, but they like to talk about it.
I call them scientist cosplayers, because they especially the ghost hunters, they do dress the part. They will come to your house and tell you that they're professionals, and they really don't have any scientific training. And as part of my thesis work for my master's degree, I looked at all of the paranormal investigation groups that were happening in the U.S. at that time, around 2010. There was over 1,000 of them. Well over 1,000. I could barely count them all. I just counted the ones I could find on the internet.
And this is 2010.
And yes, this is in 2010.
Okay.
So really at the height of this push to be like the ghost hunters, or it was prompted by Most Haunted in the UK, a TV show, and then it was over here in the US with Ghost Hunters and subsequent other programs for various age groups, college age or younger, and people saw these TV shows and they're like, I can do that. I don't need any training. I could just read a book or watch a TV show and I could go out there and do this, and they did. And they used jargon and they used blinky equipment that didn't really do anything, or they used just regular environmental anomalies and called them ghosts, or worse, they called them demons, which can get into some ethical issues too, where they really did scare some families into thinking that they had demons infesting their house. And they were believed because people don't really know a scientist, or they don't really know how science works. So if you can fake it, sometimes people do believe. And I that was quite upsetting to me. I really don't care what people believe. That's fine. But when you pretend to be science, doing science, or making a scientific claim, then I get kind of angry because you didn't do the work. And you're not actually using the process. You're faking it, and you're faking it to the people who are trusting you.
One of the issues I have with these paranormal investigators who go in and make claims about what they found is that they can cause psychological damage to the people who are in that house, because they're telling them, yes, your house is haunted, or yes, there's a demon here.
Yeah.
That's dangerous. And
it is.
It's also, it's like, if you classify yourself as a member of the military and you're not, it's called stolen valor. Well, I think that this applies within the paranormal community as well, because a lot of these people, like you say, have no idea what the scientific method is. And then when you challenge their authority and their experience, they say, well, science is all part of conspiracy.
They told me that when I would approach them and say, what are your qualifications for doing science? They say, well, we're methodical and we're careful and we're measuring things with equipment. That's not how it goes. That's not how science works. You have to be a bit more diligent than that. And what I really was afraid of was that they were dealing with some people that may have had mental illness,
yes,
or psychological problems themselves, and they could potentially be making it that much worse.
As you don't like them using the name science or claiming to be scientists, I was a former police detective, investigator, and when they call themselves investigators, the hair on the back of my neck kind of stands up. Like, we went to an academy. We had to take courses. We weren't just put into a police car with a badge gun and say, okay, there you are. We didn't watch, Hawaii Five-0, or what's the other one that there was out there?
Or Columbo.
There was a real great one, eh? There are so many things that they do that really irk me.
Yeah.
And
I called it sham inquiry.
Oh, I like that. Can I use that?
Sure, because
I'll give you credit for it.
They were putting on an act.
Yes.
They already had a conclusion, especially the TV shows. They were very much like this. They already had a conclusion they wanted to make, and then they put out an act or did certain things to sort of look like they were doing an actual investigation, but they really weren't. They were just building up a case. You were watching almost like a play, or it play out. So it was all a sham. They weren't really doing fair critical inquiry.
We've had people on this show over the years who have been cast members for a number of these shows, and you should hear, like they were saying, the trickery that was involved, the
Yeah.
shaky night shot vision, the nylon cord that would slam a door from the other side, the green screen effect on some things as well. And a number of them said, hey, we didn't sign up for this, and they quit. Going back to, let's see, 2005 or 2006, I was the consultant to the TV series up here in Canada, Creepy Canada. And I'll tell you, they did not use shoddy camera work or anything like that. It was a history, a story.
Yeah.
And certain
That's
parts
great.
of it were reenacted. But there was no calling up the spirits with demonic intent or any of the screenplay and TV trickery that we see. There's a right way of doing it and a wrong way of doing it, in my opinion.
I agree. I mean, I've been called up by many TV producers to participate in shows, and they tell me exactly what they want.
Yep.
And I'm like, I'm not going to do that.
Last year, we were approached by a major U.S. Satellite network to bring our show to their network. The money was very good, believe me. Except they wanted me to be the, really? Well, you're kidding. That really, well, I can see that. And I said, sorry.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, you got to be true to yourself.
Exactly. And you have to be true to the people out there who are listening and taking everything you say and everything that they see you do as real.
Very true.
Yeah. And the same thing with the UFO community. I've got my own theory on this, and I'd love to tell it to you when we come back from this break. Exonation Sharon Hill is our very special guest. Her website is sharonahill.com, and we'll be back on the other side talking more about the strange, the weird, the bizarre here in the X Zone from our broadcast center and studios in St. Catharines on Classic 1220.
I'm just lost what you think I've seen. Something strange,
I was walking down a one-way street, just a-looking.
And welcome back to the X Zone. I'm Rob McConnell, coming to you from our broadcast center and studios in St. Catharines, Ontario, Canada, on your hometown radio, Classic 1220, and streamed around the world on classic1220.ca. My guest this hour, the final hour of tonight's show, is Sharon Hill, and her website is sharonahill.com. Sharon, I've got this little theory. It's about UFOs. I believe it's the UFO community itself who created the UFO conspiracy, because if the UFOs are finally put to rest, they're out of a lot of fun. They're out of a lot of sightings. They're out of a lot of money being made on books, videos, and so on. So as long as this conspiracy is kept alive, that is being perpetrated by the UFO community, they're doing great.
Yeah. I thought for sure UFOs were done around 2017 or so, and then they make this huge resurgence again.
Yep.
You just never know what's going to become popular and what's going to come back into vogue again, and people get really into it again.
Yeah. I have an issue with these whistleblowers.
Yeah.
Because if these people who are whistleblowers are part of the military and they take an oath to protect their country, to do this, that, and the other thing, and then they decide later on in their career to do what they say they wouldn't do under oath, how people can take anything they say as real.
Yeah, I'm not one for eyewitness testimony. You have to take that as a grain of salt. But what we're hearing lately is almost like totally hearsay. They're hearing it from other people because those people told them so. We're getting no good evidence.
That's exactly what David Grush did at the congressional hearings.
Exactly.
He himself had never had a UFO experience. But all these people who told him about the bodies in what was it, Hangar 38 or 84, I forget, and this Tic Tac.
Yeah.
Well, my question would have been, why would the United States Navy send up 2 interceptors to home in on a UFO without arming the aircraft? Like all they had was a wing camera?
Mm-hmm.
Why would they send up an aircraft, an interceptor, without any armament? That made no sense to me.
Yeah, a lot of this doesn't make any sense.
Do you remember the story about Roswell?
Yes.
Okay. Jesse Marcel, the base intelligence officer, he goes out to Mark Brazel's ranch. Mark Brazel shows him the debris field. Jesse Marcel takes the debris, puts it in his Jeep. By him taking the debris, he's putting it into the custody of the U.S. government. And as he's going back to Roswell, he decides to bring the debris that he found at the Brazel Ranch, bring it into his house, and woke up his wife and his son to show him the evidence. Now, I don't know about you. To me, that story ends right there, because what he did was he broke the chain of evidential custody. And you're talking about a U.S. Air Force captain. And then after his son had touched it and they'd played with it and they'd, tried doing different things with it, then he takes the evidence back to the Roswell Air Force Base. And the story takes on from there. There seems to be a lot of these unwarranted events that happen when dealing with UFO cases. And I find it very unusual that the right questions aren't asked. Fire in the Sky, Travis Walton.
Right.
Talk to anybody about the case. Well, he passed all these lie detector tests. Well, no, he didn't. Michael Shermer got him on one of the TV shows. And, Travis took the lie detector test, and he failed it on TV. So, is this another case where people want to believe so much that they will take anything they can to substantiate their belief, whether it's Bigfoot, whether it's ghosts, whether it's UFOs, psychic phenomena? Is that what society is coming to?
Yeah, probably. I think we're in this era. It's a very strange time, isn't it? People want the world to be enchanted again. We want things to come save us. We want the sky gods to come and save us from ourselves. We want spirits of the forest. Maybe we want even creepy things to threaten us because we're afraid of the actual things that scared us in the real world. That we're now we move our fear onto things that we feel we can control a little bit more. These are very strange times, I think.
Did you do any work on the Malmstrom Air Force Base UFO occurrence?
No, I tend to steer away from UFOs unless they are like Earth lights. Earth lights are my thing. I like UFOs that look just like floating balls of light. That's my thing.
Okay, I was just going to ask you about that because you did an article in Fortean Times, number 382 in August of 2019. Tell me about that, because I think there's a lot of misidentification when it comes to Earth lights, and how easy it is for those who want to believe how they can, put it up to a UFO experience. Share that experience. Share that article with us if you don't mind.
Look, I want to believe in Earth lights really badly. I want to believe that there is some sort of energy that's released from the Earth and manifests as light. I think that's an awesome idea, and I want that to be true. And the more I look into it, the more that ends up not being the case.
Oh.
But what I was asked to do, and I did a little bit of work on earthquake lights, so very specific type of earthquake lights. So some sort of light phenomenon, could be various things, manifest either before or during earthquakes. And there is fascinating stories about this, really interesting stuff. But this was very much a niche type of subject that I was looking into, and I was even asked by a person from the NASA Goddard Space Center in Maryland to come and talk during a luncheon presentation because the physicists there wanted to know about earthquake lights. They
Wow.
wanted to hear somebody talk about it. So I spent months preparing for this talk for NASA researchers. I was very intimidated and I was very nervous. What were they going to say about this? And I did all the research and I found everything I could in the scientific journals about cases of earthquake lights.
Right.
And the stories were just fantastic. I still think that they're great stories. And some of them are so unique that they're not just little lights. They're not balls of light that are just floating in the woods. They're very distinct experiences. And there may be some scientific explanation for them. However, the situation where they occur is so rare in such specific areas and unpredictable because we can't predict earthquakes. We never are able to catch it and study it precisely. You can't create earthquake lights in a lab. The scale is too big. So we can't create those types of energies to reproduce it. So it's still that mysterious thing. And I have had a couple people tell me about their Earth lights experiences that are very strange and unexpected, and they don't consider them UFOs. They consider them very attached to the ground or coming from the ground. And I think that's super interesting. And to take that one step further, in Pennsylvania, we have a lot of Bigfoot reports. More and more often, the Bigfoot reports are related or coincidental with people seeing lights in the woods. Is Bigfoot using flashlights? I don't know, but something interesting is going along where people are starting to get the idea about Earth lights and they're seeing them more often, or as we talked about previously, they may be primed to see things and that's how they're interpreting them. So a lot going on with Earth lights.
We're hearing more and more stories about Bigfoot being connected with UFO sightings. And I don't know what to make of it. Is it because at times the UFO community seems to slow down? Sightings go way down and they plateau. Then they associate something else with possible UFOs. And boy, the interest in UFOs starts spiking again.
Yeah.
Take, for example, cattle mutilation.
Yeah.
I personally don't believe that Bigfoot is traveling with UFOs, and unless he's Chewbacca, he looked like a Bigfoot from Star Wars.
Right.
It seems that each and every time when you think that you finally have some sense coming back into the world when it comes to UFOs, something spikes again. And
Yeah.
it seems like a cycle. There's no specific date or time when this is going to happen, but it seems to be a cycle. I want to know if UFOs are real and we're being visited by extraterrestrials. If they have the knowledge and the ability to traverse space and time from one end of the galaxy to the other end, wouldn't they have the ability to take one cow and harvest whatever they want and then, genetically reproduce it?
Why cows?
Exactly. Apparently, now, I was speaking to a guest the other night, and I can't remember who it is right now. They were saying that cow blood can be used in humans. And
I don't think so.
Yeah. And, I'm sorry. That didn't make sense to me. And then they were saying that other parts of the cows that were being harvested were being used for embryonic sacs, where the aliens would take the fetus out of a human and put it in this artificial embryonic sac until the human fully developed. Now, this is just the other night. Come on, guys. Here we are in the year 2024.
It's fun to speculate and be imaginative about these types of things. And that's fine, but it is dangerous when people start believing those things. We need some critical thinking for that. I mean, everybody have seen a UFO. We've all seen a UFO.
Yep.
We've all seen something in the sky that's unidentified. That's a great question. The question should be, what is it?
That's right.
Not conclusion that aliens are visiting us or whatever. There could be something more interesting. up there for sure. And I'm all about that. That's fine. Let's find that out.
You and I have to take our final break. Please stand by. And Exonation, our guest this hour, is Sharon Hill. She has a great website, Exonation. Go there, but intend to spend hours. SharonAHill.com. I'm Rob McConnell. This is the X Zone, a place where people dare to believe, and we all know that's to be the truth. And we also have people who love playing the music before it's supposed to come on. And I'm not going to mention your name, Craig, but thank you for that. Are you a believer or are you a skeptic? Send me an email, xzone@classic1220.ca. I'm Rob McConnell, and you're listening to us on your hometown radio, Classic 1220. Don't go away.
Always looking for a man. Now I'm hoping.
Cold late nights so long ago, when I was not so strong, you know. Pretty man came to me, never seen eyes so blue, you know I could not run away.
Welcome back, everyone. Sharon Hill is our special guest this hour, SharonHill.com. First of all, Sharon, thanks very much for taking time out of your day to join us here tonight on the X Zone. It's much appreciated.
Yeah, my pleasure.
So we get a lot of these people who see these balls of light in the woods. Are they Earth lights, or are they an unknown phenomenon that really could exist?
So Earth lights is an idea that's been around for a really long time. Back in the 70s, Earth mysteries, I'm using air quotes, was a big deal. So it related to things like anything that came from the Earth. So it could be standing stones. You know, there was these areas where there were mysterious standing stones put there, or they could be ideas about dowsing or ley lines or earth energies and stuff like that. And that seems to be coming around again. Like I said, I love the idea of earth lights, and some people relate them to, you can relate earth lights to UFOs that are related to ley lines that are, I mean, you can relate all these things together, because at one point somebody had all these ideas mushed together about UFOs traveling along ley lines and things like that. It was great. There's a whole lot of interesting historical paranormal ideas out there. I think that people are seeing earth lights again because the world is a really busy place. They can see things in the sky because the sky is a very busy place. It's not really much of a stretch to think that you could see lights in the woods because there's lots of people out there.
Sure.
So I think, again, they're framing it in ways. If they believe in ghosts, maybe they think it's a ghost light. If they believe in UFOs, maybe they think it's a UFO light or some relation to that. If they have native beliefs, maybe they think it's some sort of spirit. So I think there's a lot of things that could be applied to earth lights, which makes them really useful for a lot of different paranormal claims.
I'd just like to say one more thing about UFO researchers and these people who go out of their way to try and break into air bases, Area 51, and all the crazy things that they do. Guys, what you're doing is you're tampering with national security, for goodness sake. Do we need to break onto air bases? Do we need to go into Area 51? They're there in the strange areas. They're there under protection because we don't want the bad guys to know what we have to protect our freedom, our democracy. You know, to protect the United States, to protect Canada, to protect our allies. And I think that when you have UFO investigators who deliberately trespass, who deliberately go out of their way to try and be the hero to find out the truth in the smoking gun, that you're a danger to society. You don't gain anything by breaking the law. You really don't. And it's the same thing with people who investigate paranormal activity on private property. You just can't do that. You have no right to do what you're doing. Law enforcement needs a warrant. And yet, you people who go out and trespass at night or at day, during the day, think that you can get away with it. You can't. So please be respectful of other people's property, number one. And number two, if the sign at the Air Force Base or the test facility says stay out, no trespassing, and if you do, you could be shot, take that for verbatim, because they aren't kidding. You're dealing with national security. You're just not dealing with your life. You're dealing with the lives of many, many people. And there, I've said it. I just don't understand it. I really don't. So, where do we go from here with science and the paranormal?
Well, you don't have to be a scientist to investigate the paranormal. But there are people out there that could help you. And if you ask good questions to people who actually know what they're talking about and learn how things work, you can learn really interesting things. And maybe you can't, like at the end of my book, I talk about citizen science. You can totally do that. And a lot of paranormal groups got tired of just going to people's houses and they wanted to do more serious research. They went to their local university and got a professor to sponsor them and help them direct their research into something actually more useful. So whether that be investigating the history of a place, the real history, or seeing if there's anything unique about the area. Maybe there's like a little microclimate there that causes people to be uncomfortable. Maybe there's wind or ultrasound that's causing people to be uncomfortable. Maybe there's reflections that people see things. There could be something actually there that you can research and come up with an actual productive answer. So that's what I would like people to do. And there's nothing wrong with using ghosts, for example, to interpret the past. It's a way for us to interact with the past. And just like cryptozoology may be a way for people to interact with animals and nature, that's fine. So there's lots of things that you can do, but don't go overboard on it and make crazy speculative stuff that just isn't true.
Let me ask you this very serious question. What can we in the media do to help science to work with paranormal groups? What can we do? Because we're here.
Yeah. I mean, I've been looking at the media and news reporting of paranormal events for a very, very long time, and they just really don't do a great job because they focus on the speculative stuff and the sensationalism instead of typically looking at the question that needs to be answered. Why are people saying that they're experiencing these things? That's an interesting question. People are having experiences, and those experiences are very important to them. It may change their lives. Instead of jumping to a conclusion, I would rather we focus on why people believe these things and what may be some reasonable explanations for them. That doesn't happen, though, because that's not clickbait, is it?
No, it's not. But I think that the media has a responsibility to their listeners, their viewers, and their readers. I understand that if it don't bleed, it don't lead. Believe me, I've heard that for the past 35 years in broadcasting. Yes, the media is guided by numbers, by ratings. Sensationalism sells. Yeah. But still, where does the responsibility lie?
Yeah, I mean, I love finding out the real answer.
Yeah.
And when I have occasion to do that, or when other people do that, we're called, party poopers. We've busted the mystery. We've ruined the mystery. I don't think that's the case. I like finding out. I don't want to believe. I want to know if I can. And so that's kind of the way I pursue my research. And not everybody likes it.
I do.
Thanks.
I think you're doing a great job.
People, they want to believe in the mystery. They want the mystery to keep on. And like I said, I want to know. I want to find out. Listen, that just leads to better questions, too.
It does. I've been doing this show for over 30 years. People call me a skeptic. I've been called a government agent. I've been called, you name it, when it comes to asking questions. And searching for answers, but demanding the truth, because you will get answers all the time, but whether or not the answers are true, whoa, well, that's where the problem comes in. But there are people out there like you, Joe Nickel, and a group of others who are bound and determined to do their best to get to the truth, to get to the answers, to get to the explanation. My goodness, like I said, I've been doing this for 30 years. Plus, I want to believe. I want to believe, but I want to see the evidence. I want to see the proof. I don't want to listen to somebody say, well, a friend of 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 a friend said he saw Bigfoot. Or a friend of a friend, and this goes on, abducted by aliens. Where's the proof? Do you remember the old Wendy's commercial? The old lady chomping.
Where's the beef? Yeah.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
Since
I wish more people would have that type of credibility and to critically think about this stuff.
That's what it takes these days, is critical thinking.
Yeah.
Quickly before we go, and we've got about 2 minutes, my producer said, what is your explanation, if any, of crop circles?
Wow, I think they're great art.
Aren't they?
I love them. I absolutely love when a new crop circle turns up because they're so imaginative. They're so interesting. Somebody is out there doing a great job, and more power to them, other than the poor farmer who may lose, some of his crop. But I think it's art. I think it's awesome. I don't think it's aliens.
You don't, hey? Is there any possibility that there may be a connection between a geological explanation and the crop itself, or is... No, huh?
No, I don't think so. I think they're too detailed and sometimes mathematical.
Mm-hmm.
They're so perfect.
Yeah, they are.
That it doesn't really have anything to do with, the geology or anything. I think it really is, let's celebrate the people who could do this fantastic thing. That's my view.
So you're breaking my heart here, because I thought they were messages from the aliens giving us the answers to world peace and feeding the poor, and that they're coming soon, but I guess not, huh?
That would be great, because I think we could really use some help.
Oh boy, truer words were never spoken. Then do you remember hearing that NASA could never take a picture of the back of the moon because they lose the feed?
Yes.
Okay, I found out why. Because on the back of the moon that we can't see is a big sign that says, "Earth ahead, turn back now."
That's a good one. Yeah.
Sharon, I want to thank you so much for coming on. And if there's any time you'd like to come on and share something that is new with you that you think the listeners would love to hear, a scientific viewpoint, let me know. We'll get you right back on.
Awesome.
You take care of yourself. Really nice knowing you, and thank you for all the great work you do.
Thank you so much, Rob.
You have a nice evening, Sharon.
Bye-bye.
Exo Nation, my guest this hour has been Sharon Hill, and her website is sharonahill.com. And she's got a list of articles that she's written for. And I'll tell you, it's been a refreshing hour here in the X Zone. I'll be back tomorrow night at 10 o'clock as once again we cross the time-space continuum to this place that I call the X Zone. It's a place where people dare to believe and dare to be heard. And we're heard Monday through Friday, 10 p.m. Eastern until midnight, right here on your hometown radio, Classic 1220, and streamed around the world on classic1220.ca. So until tomorrow night, my friends, always remember to take care of each other. Hug your children, tell them they're loved, and always keep your eyes to the sky and your heart to the light. Good night, everyone.